Hi everyone! Today we're going to extend what we know about adding and subtracting proper fractions and add and subtract mixed numbers. And remember, in order to add or subtract any type of fractions, whether they're proper fractions or mixed numbers, we first need a common denominator because we need that common unit. So let's take a look at the example 3 and 2/4 plus 1 and 2/5. Now, for mixed number problems, you're going to start by rewriting your fractions vertically and sliding your whole numbers over right away. So I'll rewrite 3 and 2/4 plus 1 and 2/5 up and down or vertically, and then I'll slide those whole numbers over. That's going to help me keep the place value positions lined up nice and neat. Now, my second step will be to rename my fractions as equivalent fractions with a common denominator. Of course, if you already have fractions with a common denominator, you can move right on to the addition or the subtraction, but most often we'll need to find an equivalent fraction. So I already remember from our adding and subtracting video that my common denominator between 4 and 5 was 20. So my equivalent fraction for 2/4 meant I needed to multiply 4 times 5 and 2 times 5, which gave me an equivalent fraction of 10/20. And with 2/5, I multiplied 5 times 4 and 2 times 4, which gave me an equivalent fraction of 8/20. So I've just rewritten 3 and 2/4 as 3 and 10/20 and 1 and 2/5 as 1 and 8/20. Now I can start by adding or subtracting the fractional parts. All along in your math career, you have started by adding or subtracting the ones place. That was because the ones place, all up until now, has been your least place value position. But when we are adding or subtracting fractions, we have a fractional amount, and that is a place value position that is less than one whole. So we need to start with the fraction pieces. If we're subtracting, we might need to do some regrouping here. We'll look at that in another video. But for this, I'm going to add together my 10/20 plus 8/20, which gets me 18/20. Finally, my last step would be to add or subtract the whole numbers. And here I need to check for regrouping when I'm adding. So when I do 3 plus 1, I get 4. I know that 18/20 is a proper fraction, so I don't have an improper fraction here where I would need to regroup in the ones place. So that tells me 4 and 18/20 is my final answer. Now don't forget, I can always check for simplest form. I remember that 18/20 in simplest form was 9/10, so I could also rewrite this sum as 4 and 9/10. Let's take a look at a couple more examples together. All right, so some more examples of adding and subtracting mixed numbers. Let's switch gears and do a couple subtraction examples. So I have 2 and 3/5 minus 1 and 1/3. Again, I'm going to rewrite my numbers vertically first. 2 and 3/5 minus 1 and 1/3. And I'll start right away by sliding over those whole number amounts because I want to hold those places in their spots. So now I have 3/5 and 1/3. I need to work with the fraction parts next, and I need to find equivalent fractions with a common denominator. So I'll list out my multiples, or my first 5 multiples, I should say, of 5 and 3. So 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, and 3, 6, 9, 12, 15. I see that 15 appears on both lists. So I'll turn both 3/5 and 1/3 into equivalent fractions with a denominator of 15. 5 times 3 is 15. So I need to multiply 3 times 3 for a new numerator of 9 because 3/5 is equivalent to 9/15. And 1/3 becomes 15ths by multiplying 3 times 5 and 1 times 5. Now I can do my subtraction. So 9/15 minus 5/15, because remember I'm starting in my fraction place because that's my least place value position. 9 minus 5 is 4/15. And then I can subtract my whole numbers. 2 minus 1 is 1. So my final difference here is 1 and 4/15. Let's look at another subtraction example. So 4 3/4 minus 2 3/8. So again, I'll list 4 3/4 minus 2 3/8. I'll bring over my whole numbers first. And now I need to deal with the fraction parts. So I'm going to list out the first 5 multiples of 4 and 8. So that's 4, 8, 12, 16, 20, and 8, 16, 24, 32, and 40. Now you might have noticed right away that that number 8 was there. If you saw that and wanted to stop, you could do that. So hopefully you'll start to pick up some patterns or some different common multiples and common denominators that we use. So now I can change both of my fractions into a denominator of 8, which means my second fraction, 3/8, can stay exactly the same. I don't have to do any changing to that. But 3/4 needs to become eighths pieces. So 4 times 2 is 8. So I do 3 times 2 to get me 6. Now I'm going to subtract my fraction parts. 6/8 minus 3/8 is 3/8. And 4 minus 2, my whole number part comes next, is 2. So my final difference is 2 3/8. Let's take a look at one more example and let's switch back to an addition problem. Again, 3 1/2 plus 2 5/8 vertically. Oops. Now I can already tell that 8 is going to be my common denominator, but if you didn't quite see that yet, I'll show you that when I list out my multiples of 2 and 8, I get 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. And again with 8, I have 8, 16, 24, 32, and 40. So that number 8 is on both lists. 1/2 is the same thing as saying 4/8. And then my 5/8 can stay the same. Okay, so I picked this example because when I add 4/8 and 5/8, I end up with 9/8. So if I were to do the addition of this and then add together my 3 plus my 2, I would get 5 9/8, which has an improper fraction as part of its sum. Just like when we were adding proper fractions, meaning not mixed numbers, sometimes our answer is going to have an improper fraction. You can think about this 9/8 as really being 1 1/8, because I know that as an improper fraction, I have 9 pieces when it takes 8 pieces to make one whole, which means I have one full whole and another 1/8 piece. So now to show my true sum, I need to combine the whole number parts with the improper fraction part. In other words, I need to combine 5 and add an extra 1 1/8 to it. So my final answer to this question is really 6 1/8, because I need to combine those pieces. So be on the lookout for improper fractions in mixed number problems as well. Figure out what that improper fraction is as a mixed number, and then combine it to the whole number ones place you already have. So that's how you would add and subtract some more examples of mixed number problems.